How many downloads of Jim and Bill It's Another Day podcast?
Today, the podcast show has fetched 400 million downloads since its start, and an average of 350,000 downloads per episode, about 3.9 million downloads per week.
Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Let's start the day off with a nice sip of right side coffee because I'm still wiping the sleep out of my eyes.
Yes, he is, even as we speak. Right Side's Coffee, it's our blend of coffee. We sell it in our online store. You probably haven't.
It's good, Jim. It's good.
Well, you probably haven't been to the store because, well, a lot of people haven't. It's brand new, but would like you to visit. You have an open invitation. You'll find in that store, besides the coffee, a lot of swag, cups, hats. We have a really neat Daddy's Home T-shirt and sweatshirt and baseball cap that it's exclusive to our store. That would be kind of, and it's the perfect outfit to wear with your morning cup of Right Side coffee, really. And Right Side coffee isn't just like something we threw together. This is a blend of fine coffee. Rich coffee, the kind of coffee that you'll go back for more. It's not just some also-ran.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, we wouldn't put an also-ran coffee out there. No. This is really prime stuff. So if you don't believe us, there's only one way of finding out. At least order one bag of coffee and try it for yourself.
You will be impressed with the look of the bag. As a matter of fact, we can't show you a picture.
Well, I can't show them, but we're only audio, you know?
Yeah, well, that's true. But we are live in living truth.
That's
Not
true.
living color, but living truth.
That's right. It's the perfect cup of coffee to give your liberal friends because it'll cross their eyes, and before you know it, they'll be talking conservative stuff. It's amazing. You know.
Well, they may take the bag and throw it back at you, but that's okay. Getting Right Side coffee is a good catch.
That's true. Oh, very good. I like that.
Yeah, you're welcome. By the way, you
yes.
can find us, too, besides that, rightsideshop.com. You also need to, let your friends know about the show. And if you're going, well, how do I tell them? Just say, you know what? Google Jim and Bill. It's Another Day, and there we are, right there, top of the page.
What was that again? I didn't know that happens, huh? Anyway,
it really does. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I have a business card that said Bill Knight.
So listen, rightsideshop.com is our storefront. You can also go to our website. itsanotherday.com, and you'll find a link to that storefront. It's a medium blend roast, so it's not too strong, not too light. It's the perfect blend. We also have it in a decaf in case you can't have the high test, if you know what I mean. And some of us are that way, and you get older and you get all these little medical issues, and now your doctor says, well, I think you should stay off the caffeinated stuff. Well, we've taken care of you here. You got it. Decaf coffee. It's perfect. Also, we're the only coffee company that have our own international singing group. And by the way, they're international. They're known worldwide.
These guys are known. They have a request up on the space station. The guys that are, the guy and gal that are stranded up there forever.
I didn't know that, really.
They go to sleep with, the boys singing Right Side Coffee.
Well, it's funny you should say that because I heard they were offered They said, look, we can do one of two things, guys. We can send up another shuttle to pick you up and bring you home, or we can send you another bag of Right Side coffee.
They wanted a bag.
They wanted a bag of coffee. I couldn't believe it.
Really? I know. Yeah.
So they're up there drinking our coffee, and I guess they're
listening to the podcast going, boy, damn, we're lucky to be up here and not down there.
Yeah, keep me here. Anyway, guys.
I think they're in heaven.
If you would sing our jingle.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
They do such a good job, really.
Yeah, they really do.
I'd like to
we should pay them sometime.
They don't sing anything else. It's like I've never heard them sing anything else, La Cucaracha.
They said that they are
going
to sing our jingle until they get paid.
Well, they'll be singing it for a while. Well, that's very convenient.
It's a hell of a deal we worked out with them.
Yeah. Oh, boy, he's going to be one of those shows, folks. Anyway, it's good to have you here. A lot of stuff happening in the news. Lots and lots of stuff. First of all, we got to talk about President Trump at his press conference yesterday, but I saw an interesting story, and you did too, Bill, this morning. It was about Health and Human Services getting a request
Oh.
for medical personnel for.
It's scary.
This is really weird, folks. I mean, James O'Keefe is an independent reporter, investigator. Guy's amazing. He has been doing this for quite some time, and he is known for his honesty, for one thing. And he is the kind of guy that I wouldn't want to sit down with him and have a cup of coffee because he's probably got a recorder running somewhere. You know, it's amazing. If he sat across the table from me, I'd be silent because this guy's recording something, and he does that. But anyway, I want you to hear this little snippet of a story he put together about the HHS. Listen.
An internal memo from the Veterans Administration surfaced containing an unusual request: support for the upcoming presidential inauguration. A high-level source inside the Department of Veterans Affairs has disclosed a memo from the Executive Director, Office of the Emergency Management within Veterans Affairs. The source inside the VA said the source deployment request did not occur for the last two inaugurations. We spoke to the source inside the VA to ask if this is something that's typical. So can you just talk a minute about this being typical or not typical within the VA, them doing these sorts of things for the past few inaugurations?
What concerned me was that this has never been requested before, especially not from HHS. What we have, what I saw to me was a little bit unnerving. I've been in the VA for several inaugurations, and this was the first time they have ever asked for DEMS personnel.
First time they've ever asked for personnel.
For an inauguration, yes.
Why do you think that is?
I have no idea. That's why I decided to send that memo to you, because I believe that there's something unnerving about it. I'm not 100% sure, but my gut says this is not normal, and it's not.
The memo details a formal request from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Strategic Preparedness and Response, or ASPR. It calls upon the Veterans Administration to provide critical medical support for the event. Specifically, they sought the deployment of paramedics, registered nurses with expertise in emergency and medical surgical care, and licensed medical practitioners, including MDs, DOs, NPs, PAs, specializing in emergency medicine. The memo is signed by Derek Justad, who is the executive director for the VHA Office of Emergency Management. We ask, is this request part of a standard protocol for inaugurations, or is there a specific reason for the heightened medical readiness? We sent an email to the email address provided on the memo, and we have not yet heard back.
Okay, so that's just a little snippet of the report from James O'Keefe, and you can find it online, by the way. It's about a 7-minute report. I thought it was interesting. What they're saying is that for this inauguration on the 20th of January, they have put in a request for doctors, nurses, and emergency medical personnel to be ready to cover some kind of an emergency happening, whatever, event at the inauguration. And
it's kind of weird because what they're requesting means they're anticipating some kind of carnage.
Well, do they have information that we don't know about? Do they have word of some kind of impending attack around that time? Are they?
Well, they've got. There's got to be intel on something there, or there's got to be a known threat, or at least the sense of heightened security that there could be. Look, what happened in New Orleans happened, and it shouldn't have. I mean, the FBI director was on vacation, but yet she was there to say it's not terrorist.
Yeah.
The next morning ruined her vacation.
Well,
Sorry,
no, that was her. That was her aide. That was her assistant.
Oh, that was her aide.
Yeah, she didn't come back from vacation.
Her assistant did a hell of a job.
It wasn't a terrorist event. Yeah, we found some IEDs along the pathway, but no, that wasn't a terrorist event. Unbelievable. That was the most, and they expect you afterwards. The next day, they said, whoop, we were wrong. It was a terrorist event, and there were multiple people involved, including a woman. Then the next day, they came back, we were wrong again. Oh, my God. It was only one guy, and we got him. He's dead now, so don't worry about it.
But there's so many different things. There's a lot of tails to that dog. So They don't know.
That's a dog with a lot of tails. I like that. Yes.
Yeah, and who's doing the lying here? I think they're doing the lying. They're trying to, they're trying to cover up stuff. And
I don't know about you, Bill, but I've heard more people say that they are at a point right now that they just don't trust at all the FBI about anything. We had all this lawfare going on during the Trump administration, the raid on Mar-a-Lago. They had a shoot to kill order. When they were at Mar-a-Lago, they were authorized, if someone gave them any problems, they were authorized to shoot them. And people don't talk about that, but that's what came out during the event. The fact that they were there at all is just amazing. I think back, and I think, by the way, if people think that Trump is not going to get some kind of justice, I think they're sorely mistaken.
Biden sat there and issued a thing saying, look, he hopes Trump doesn't sit there and, retaliate against his foes.
Yeah.
Gee, why? Have you been lying about things?
This guy Biden has been smiling on one side. He'll look one way and he'll smile and talk about a peaceful transition, and then he'll turn around and throw all these roadblocks in front of Trump and the transition team, just trying to make it as hard as it can be. He's got to be concerned that there will be retribution.
The left media has been lying to us all along. And the numbers are proving that they've been lying. In this election, the people weren't buying their crap, and now they're laying off people right and left. What is it? The Washington
Post.
The Washington Post.
Yeah.
Laying off staffers.
40% gone.
Yeah, the bleeding's not going to stop. And the only reason you do that is that, sponsorship is down, readers are down, and the only reason
Do you know how much money they lost last year, Bill?
How much?
$70 million. Now, they're owned by Jeff Bezos, one of the richest men in the world, and I'm sure people say, well, he can afford to. Nobody wants to lose $70 million. I don't care how much you're worth.
Well, if, in 10 years, that's nearly $1 billion. At some point in time, they've outlived their worth, which I think they have. So they're cutting, they're cutting everything. But here's the problem with the left media, is that they haven't gotten the message. But they're saying, we didn't get the message. No, we got the message.
I know. Isn't that
We
amazing?
got the message. It was telegraphed loud and clear with the election results. The will of the people and the government has been set in stone, yet they want to distract it and take away from it and do everything they can to upset the apple cart. They keep going and going and going. You know what? Stop reading the Post. Sorry, Jeff, but you got a turd.
Did you see Hakeem Jeffries during the certification? When he went up and made a few comments, he said, representing the governing side of the House. The governing side of the House. This is the attitude. Well, the attitude is that the right side of the House is so disorganized they can't get their act together and govern. However, his side of the aisle, the Democrats, they got their act together and they know how to get things done. The governing side. That's what he said.
You ever watch one of their sessions going on? I think I did on, it might have been Monday or it might have been last week, Friday, whatever day it was. I was watching that. And, they're sitting there, I yield the next 4 minutes to so-and-so from so-and-so. You have a Republican chairwoman and a Democrat chairperson, all right? And the woman would sit there and call up the next person. Didn't editorialize on the last Democrat that spoke. They got to say their piece, and all of them were hit jobs on the Republicans.
Right.
The Republicans were sitting there saying, here's what we're proposing, this is what we want, and you need to vote on this. They were actually lockstep on everything and staying on
message.
On message.
Yeah.
The Democrats, on the other hand, they were out there, just vile, their venom flying out of their mouths. And then, the Republican lady would bring up the next Republican. Then this Democrat from, I think, Worcester, would sit there and go, he would editorialize on what the Republicans said, well, rah, 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 and just totally take
This
it.
was
and
where
poo-poo it.
the Massachusetts House and
No, this was actually
U.S. House representative.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he's from Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Some rooster from there, and he crowed a lot of crap. And I'm sorry, but I don't even know that that's his place to do that. All he should really do is, announce the next person and yield the time to him on his side.
Trump has a lot of things.
Editorialization is not appreciated or welcome.
Trump has a lot of plans for his administration, but I just hope that the Republicans in the Senate and the House and Congress will get their act together and support the guy for the next 4 years in unison.
They won't. I can tell you right now, they won't. The chaos theory is in effect. They are going to do everything they can to derail him. I'm worried about, the Mershon thing. Now, let's recap.
It's funny you should say that. That's where I was going next. Yes, the Mershon thing on Friday. Go ahead.
Yeah, because, and I have a reason to feel the way that I do. But let's review the case. The case, they had to change laws to sit there and try to vaguely go after Trump in a stacked courtroom, a stacked deck against him with a case that holds no water. But by doing what they did, and it was a lie of E. Jean Carroll. I mean, there's no proof that anything happened. She's the one that said rape is sexy. She is the one that sat there and said, this is the dress that I wore the day that he raped me, and I've kept it in the closet all this time. Number one, I have in the family a rape victim, and the last thing they do is keep those clothes. They burn them, and that's that. They want to push that aside, but she didn't. But then again, she brought that out as evidence, and what time has told is that, oh, by the way, that dress wasn't even in style or in vogue then because it hadn't been designed yet. It wasn't designed until just a couple of years
The
ago.
Mershon case, though, is not like the first one, and it's easy to confuse the two. The Mershon case was about illegal business acts.
Right.
And the thing that gets me is there was no victim in the Mershon case.
No.
Nobody. The banks got paid off in time. The loans were paid off. The investors made a profit on the Trump deal. Nobody complained about what Trump did. By the way, one of the things they had to do is they had to, I guess, in the E. Jean Carroll case you were talking about, they're side by side, folks. They're in New York and they're Trump law, their law firm, both of them.
There.
Yeah, they had to extend the statute of limitations. They had to literally change it just for that one case, and then after the case was over, it went back to where it was. Right off the bat, that should be illegal. Right off the bat, that is two sets of laws for American citizens. It shouldn't be legal.
In that case, the whole story was a lie and a sham. That is proof by the fact of what she presented as evidence was not in existence at the time. But nobody fact-checked that. They'll fact-check Trump, and how they fact-checked, oh, that's a lie. That's their fact-check.
They took this week, they tried, Mershon said he wasn't going to move the sentencing date from Friday. And so they appealed it to the appeals court in New York, and they immediately sided with Mershon. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. And then I learned that the appeals court judges in New York are selected. They're chosen. They're not elected. They're not voted in, or they're just picked out. They're political hacks. And they're all one-sided. Nobody believed that they weren't going to rule the way they rule because it's who they are. They side with the left all the time. Now, there's a Hail Mary pastor talking about trying to get it in the next day or so with the New York Supreme Court. They might have a little better chance of getting an overturning ruling in the New York Supreme Court. But then again, they have sided time and time again with the left, too. So New York is almost like a socialist country right now. And I feel bad for the conservatives who live in that state because they're stuck. They are stuck. They have an someone said it's not a new kind of rule. They've run New York this way since the days of Tammany Hall, the days of the mid 1800s, when they had gangs running it. Well, if you ever saw the movie Gangs of New York, which is about the Five Corners area of New York, where they had their Irish gangs and the mobs, and it was a very good movie, but unfortunately it wasn't all fiction. It was a lot of truth to it. We've lived. New York is corrupt. Has been corrupt. There've been a handful of people who've gotten elected, like Rudy Giuliani. Look what happened to him. He's a Republican, got elected mayor. He was terrific, left an amazing legacy. So what have they done to him and his legacy? The New York people, they've tried to crush him. Him. Go ahead, Bill. I didn't mean
Why
to...
you keep voting those people in, I don't know. Well, the reason I got kind of concerned is, I get stuff and messages from both parties.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows my affiliation. You do, as a listener, probably know what my affiliation is, but I get a thing from the National Democratic Committee, and they're doing a thing out there, and what they were trying to feel is what they think are their constituents, and they want to know if you think that Donald Trump belongs in prison, and if they should go ahead and put him in for 20 years. They are actually floating the idea to what they think their base is, to sit there and go, should we sit there and lock him up? And then, of course, they go on with the survey. And the survey, even if you answer no, the survey is all, he's guilty of this, he's guilty of this. Is he guilty of everything, or which one do you believe? And you have to do that survey to participate.
Yeah.
There's no reason for this
unless
they're trying to, coalesce a reason to say.
So wait a second. They ask you, do you believe whether he's guilty of something? And then if you say, I don't think he's guilty.
All right. I have it up right here.
Okay.
Does Donald Trump belong in prison? Okay. Yes, no, unsure.
No.
Let's go with no.
Yeah.
Okay, no. Okay, and then it brings up live tracking poll, and do you think Trump belongs in prison?
No.
And again, you go, no. And then it brings up, and it says you must answer this, but see, now this whole thing is closed now, so I don't know that I can, get any more. But they had here it is. Which crimes do you think Trump should be in prison for? Select all that apply. Inciting the January 6th Capitol insurrection.
It's a push poll.
Yeah,
they're pushing you in a direction they want you to answer in. No matter what your answer is, they'll push you in the direction.
Even if you say he's not guilty, here's what they're going to say. Did he collude with the Russian oligarchs to win the 2016 election? No, he didn't.
No.
Hillary did, but he didn't. Committing millions of dollars worth of tax evasion? No, he didn't do that. Threatening foreign governments to dig up dirt on his political opponents? Well, that would be the left. If you look at Hillary and Biden and everything else, trying to rig and overturn the results of the 2020 election. Well, again, no. Now, there is proof now that January 6th and the whole 9 yards is a fraud. There is proof out there that they were stuffing the ballot boxes. So, you want to sit there and accuse that, then let's go back and recount those votes. Let's go back and review the video surveillance of the ballot boxes. Let's go back and look at everything. You don't want to do that? Then, you've got no case. Inciting the January 6th Capitol insurrection. So I'm thinking that what they're going to try to do is they want to see if they can get away with trying to lock, Trump up.
Well,
and let me tell you something.
Here's the thing.
The public has spoken. We don't give a damn.
Well, here's what they're saying.
Allegations.
They're saying right now that Mershon has already signaled that Trump doesn't have to show up for the sentencing. He can do it on a Zoom call. He can do it from a distance. And that they've also signaled there'll be no jail time. But here's what I'm afraid of. Until the decision is in, anything can happen. Right. Anything can happen. And he may change his mind. He still has a gag order in place on Trump. He still has a gag order in place on Trump. It's been in place for months. And I'm thinking to myself, is he going to say, look at him, besides the fact, Mr. President, you've also violated your gag order by talking about this case, so I won't put you in jail for A, the crime, but I am going to put you in jail for B. Yeah.
Right. And, these gag orders, it's always the gag order is against the accused and not against the accuser. So, in other words, the left can sit there and say anything they want to, you're free. But you can't say anything in your defense or come back and say, wait a minute, I'm sorry, you're not supposed to talk. So in other words,
I used to love working in New York. I don't even know whether I want to change planes in New York anymore, because there's so much corruption and they are so partisan in New York. You know what they're doing, by the way? We talked about this yesterday. Hochul, she has this new law where she's taxing people who work in New York for driving. If they drive the car into the city, they're going to get taxed. But she tried to put lipstick on that pig by saying, "Look I was going to charge you $15 for the tax, but I'm only going to charge you $9. So you're going to save 40%." Wait a second there, Kathy, babe. You still are charging me 60% of more than I was paying last year. I didn't pay it all on my car driving into New York. But she now is running into a situation where New Yorkers who drive their car into the city are taking paint and changing the numbers on their license plates so that when they go by and they see a card reader, right, the plate reader, it will, if it's a 3 for real, they'll change it like to an 8 so that it won't be registered. The car won't come back to the person who was actually driving it.
You get stopped with that, man.
Oh, it's happening. And they are being stopped. But you have to admire their creativity in New York trying to get around.
I was just in Mass, and I drive a short bit through New York, and the only toll there is a bridge that you go over, a big long bridge. And I got I got a thing saying, "Oh yeah, you don't have one of those little things, because that's the only toll I go through now."
Easy Pass, yeah.
The Easy Pass. You went across the bridge last month. That's $56. I'm going to cross a blanket bridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
It used to be $5.60 or something like that, which I thought was crazy, but $56?
Yeah.
To cross a bridge? And
but
I
if you have
cross
the Easy
damn
Pass
thing twice.
If the Easy Pass, it'll be much. They're trying to push you into the Easy Pass, which you might want to do anyway. I have one, and we go over every time I go back. I drive across what used to be called the Tappan Zee Bridge. They built a new one side by side, right, with the old bridge, and they changed it. When Andrew Cuomo was governor, he changed it to the Mario Cuomo Bridge. Now they want to change it back to the Tappan Zee Bridge, which would make sense because historically that's been the name of the bridge at that location, right? But and everybody still refers to it. The people who drive across it, I'm on the Tappan Zee Bridge. But anyway, they took away the booths. They got rid of those jobs where guys were actually making a living and feeding families. They put up these plate readers, and you can be traveling along. You have to if you have an Easy Pass on your dashboard, it will register that you have it, and it will deduct the money.
I don't think in this case. I think there's either a mistake on it or they're screwing people, because they do have two sets of tolls. You're a New Yorker, it's less.
They're penalizing you.
You're from out of state. There's more. They're more.
But see, they're penalizing you too. They're assuming that you were trying to sneak through, so you're being penalized. If you get the Easy Pass, it'll cost you like $6 or $8 or $10.
Or it's attached to your credit card, and they're going, no, he's got out of state plates and he's got the Easy Pass, so we'll turn around and still bill him the $60. And all of a sudden I'm going, why is this extra out of my account? See, to me, but it's a state. And they can control anything they want to.
The Easy Pass is regional. If you want an Easy Pass and you live in Pennsylvania, the Easy Pass is registered in Pennsylvania. You can use it on New York bridges that have Easy Passes.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
here's the problem with that, and we don't need to be talking about easy passes, but I drive it now
Yeah.
all the time because I did have an easy pass, and what made me mad, and I said I'm doing a different route because you use the easy pass in PA when you
Yeah.
go on it, you pay the PA rate. Now in New York, you go on it, and assumably you pay their rate, but New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, forget about it, you don't need a pass. But going through there, all of a sudden, well, you need a pass. Even in Mass, they go, oh, well, if it's a Massachusetts easy pass, it's cheaper. But
Really?
you got the PA one. Oh, no, it's
There's a surcharge.
double the fare.
Yeah.
So,
Bill.
that little reciprocal
But
thing, it's BS.
When I was thinking about the fact that they were changing their license plates in New York, what they have effectively done, Kathy Hochul, is you've made
Turn your population into criminals.
into criminals. Exactly right. You're taking law-abiding, decent people driving into work, doing their job, and by putting this oppressive tax on them, this unjust tax on them, and then having them do this to change their license plates, you made them criminals.
So if you're going to take the bus or take a train, they're going to raise the fares.
Of course.
Because, it's going to take more gas, maybe an extra,
They'll
extra
probably
bus
have
on
some
the
kind
road.
they'll have some kind of, if you live in Connecticut, they'll have a out-of-state residence fee. They'll do something.
It doesn't matter who you are. They're taxing you.
Look
and you know what? I hope they tax New York out of business.
The Democrats are good. They're not good at fixing problems. They're not good at solving problems and like the budget, things like that. They're very good at spending other people's money and raising taxes. Exceptionally good. They've been doing that for decades, and they just get better at it. Now fix the problem, forget it. You're out of luck.
The Big Apple, it's a rotten apple. Just so you know.
Anyway, President Trump held a press conference. Before I do that, a reminder: Right Side Coffee available at rightsideshop.com. You really should check it out. We can't tell you enough, and we figured maybe we are telling you we aren't telling you enough. So we're going to remind you every so often during the show, if you don't mind. Rightsideshop.com. Check it out. Now would be a good time. You can keep us on in the background. We'll entertain you.
Like our show and tell your friends about us, too. Share us.
Yes. Oh, please. That's how we've gotten 4 million people a week listening to our program around the world, in England and France, Germany, Russia. All over the world. It's amazing. I don't know how they find us. I just hope they're not bill collectors. President Trump held a President Trump held a press conference on Tuesday after being certified, and during the press conference, he talked about a lot of stuff. But one of the things he talked about, which I thought was funny and made people smile, was this.
We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate.
I love it. you know, and of course the left media, their eyes crossed when he said that. Oh,
well, he throws a lot of these things out there, and actually it does make sense. But is it the most important thing on the plate? No. But what does it do? Well, he just hooked the media, the left media out there. Oh, he's crazy. Look what he wants to do now. Well, while they're going, look what he wants to do now, he's subtly doing another thing on his agenda. And so when he floats these things out there, if he gets it, he'll go, hey, looky there, we got it. But if he doesn't, he still got what he really wanted.
A lot of people will say that.
They were focused on that.
Yeah, he'll threaten with like military action and stuff like that, or it's really dramatic. As a matter of fact, one of the people in the press conference asked him, "Well, you talk about Panama, and now you're talking about Greenland. Does this mean that you might use military force to get them to go your way?" And he said, "I'm not ruling it out."
You never know.
You never know. And so right now, so the left went bananas. If you listen to all the left-wing news operations, MSNBC and CNN, they were just bat, you know what,
Okay.
bat guano crazy. They were, oh, he's a dictator. See, we told you he was Hitler. I mean, they're going nuts.
Okay. You're driving down the road. You
yeah.
see a sign said speed limit 55 miles per hour. Violators will be prosecuted.
Yep.
Are you going to get up in the air about that? Well, you would if you're driving 85 miles an hour. Oh, how can they're crazy. They're going to pull me over and put me in jail. Yeah. Well, then drive 55.
Yeah.
And then you've got no problem. You
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
The left is out there. They're crows. They go after anything shiny.
Yeah.
Or anything that scares them because they know that they are, they're jumping over that fence, and they just need to reel it in a little bit and focus on the important
you
stuff.
You should have seen the MSNBCs. They're all beside themselves talking about all the stuff that Trump is. He's going to be a dictator. He's going to rule with an iron fist. Now, if you knew Trump, this is how he does deals. Yeah, have you ever noticed that, and we've all gotten pretty used to Trump now. We know how he works, but he will criticize somebody. Let's say Tom Massey. Remember, he was not going to. He didn't vote for the what was it? The speaker. He didn't want Johnson to be speaker, and he stood by his guns, right? Thomas Massey. And during that whole process, Trump said Massey better get on board or he maybe get primaried out. But and he didn't, he was the only one who didn't vote for the speaker, for Johnson. But someone said yesterday, and so true, if Trump needs something and Massey is the deciding vote and gets on board, all will be forgiven with Trump. Now, a lot of people, they react with emotion, like you and I. That son of a bee wasn't on my side. To hell with him. Trump's not that way. Trump doesn't go that way. Trump is different. Trump will, he will. First, he'll try to threaten you into doing something, and if you don't do it, well, you think he's in trouble now. But if something comes down the road a little bit, and you're the deciding vote again, and you side with Trump, all is forgiven. You'll be invited to Mar-a-Lago,
Yeah, Trump can be an adversary, or you can be at odds with him. But when it's resolved, it's resolved, and it's just business. But I sit there and I look back at, he's a builder, and he's a damn good builder. Whether you want to sit there, if you're on the left and he's your opponent, he's a terrible builder. He's done that, whatever. And he doesn't pay his crew and all of that, and the BS. Well, there was somebody on social media, it was on the X, a guy that was asking his builders what they thought of Trump and all of that. And like this one guy wrote, he goes, I worked on 6 of his buildings in my 35 years as a stone setter in New York City. Everyone got paid well. When he walked by a job site, the workers put their tools down and applauded him. So please ask me and quit spreading the BS and lies.
Yeah.
This is from someone that's not worked for him once, twice, thrice, but 6 different times. He's worked for the man, seen the man. He knows of the man.
Well, you know what he does?
Witnessed.
What he used to do, this multimillionaire / billionaire, he used to go over to his job site, put on a hard hat, go up and talk to his employees. Talk to the welders and the different people on the job site. He would have lunch with him, sit down and have lunch and talk about what's going on. This was the guy who owned the building. So he's his son calls him a blue collar billionaire. Donald Trump Jr. blue collar billionaire, which is the truth.
And they try to tear apart his economic plan.
Yeah.
He's basically an economist. That's what he studied at Wharton.
Yep.
One of the, if you're going to, work with money and be an economist, that's where you want to go to school. And he did.
Yeah. He is, we're lucky to have him. Now, here's the problem. Bill, this goes back to, I'm concerned. 12 more days, every day I hold my breath because these people who are holding the power now in the deep state, they're not going to just simply pack up their offices and leave quietly. They have a plan. And I got to think that Trump knows that they have a plan. I mean, he's not going into this thing blind. They've got to be aware of the fact there's going to be something that they're going to try to drop on him, a war, a domestic terrorist attack. Something is going to happen.
Well, they're talking about a quademic, and already in California, Massachusetts, and there's about 4 or 5 other states that are getting ready to do it. They're going back to the mask mandates.
Yeah, I saw that, but I think that they were testing
in
that.
Hospitals right now, but
I think they were testing that to see how the country was going to. And I think there's been such a negative reaction from the public, like, not again. It's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I don't think that's going to. I don't think that's taking a hold. I think that they want to do it, but I think that they have other things that are that are planned for. They talked about, and I don't think they had the time.
In California and in Mass, I know one hospital in particular in Mass, they put out the mandate with CDC. You're in that hospital, you're going to wear a mask. You work there, you come in there, you walk in those doors, you better have a mask on. That's what they're doing, and they're, these liberal strongholds,
Oh, they get paid. You have to remember something. These hospitals, when all is said and done, they're financed by, grants and the government, and they're dependent on their relationships with politicians. So you can't tell me that they're not influenced. They're not neutral sites that make medical decisions. They're being influenced by politicians. Hey, I think you should initiate another mask mandate, don't you think? All right, sure, why not?
Let's do it.
Yeah. You see what's happening, by the way, in California? For some reason, now there's a massive wildfire that is, I guess, encroaching on the city of Los Angeles.
Pacific Palisades, the strong winds, which winds are there, anyway.
Right.
But there's some abnormal things going on. Well, and when I say abnormal,
well, maybe they should get down on their knees and say some prayers, get a little closer to God.
Well, yeah, I don't know. The left media doesn't believe in prayers. I mean, Mike Johnson evoked in a speech a prayer that was attributed to Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
And they're going, oh, he's making that up. There's no proof that Thomas ever said that prayer, and he's just simply using that to sit there and rile up the religious right, to sit there and push false stories and narratives and lies.
Isn't it amazing how the left can be so easily irritated by the mention of prayer? Prayer. These are people, by the way, for the most part, who are godless. It was. I expected the other day when Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and the congressional chaplain and one other person, was it Nancy Pelosi? Was someone? There was another person in the group, and they bowed their head on January 6th in the halls of Congress to say a prayer for what had happened. And these are people. Chuck Schumer is about as holy as I won't say it. He just is not the man he's trying to present himself as. It was a political move on their part to use
Chuck
prayer.
is a weird boy. He is a weird boy, and
I don't know. You can almost see the horns come out of his forehead, though. Right?
Oh, he never looks anybody in the eye. He's always looking down, looking to the side. He won't look you in the face. And, when they show him, it looks like, okay, he's an old guy, but he's got stature and standing up straight. You see him walking, and he's a little troll hunched over. And I'm sorry to say it that way, but he's just,
the power.
He's an evil troll.
The power these people have must be an intoxicant because they just can't relinquish it. It can't be money. These people have already. And by the way, somebody should sit down and try to figure out how these congressmen and senators who get paid $200,000 a year leave Congress millionaires. I mean, no one has ever sat down and said, they're always talking about money that Trump has and money that the people on the right have, but no one ever says, hey, Nancy, you went into Congress in 1998 or whatever, 96, and you weren't rich, and now you're leaving multimillionaire. How did that work out when you just had a job as a congressperson? You know.
Well, you know what Trump and Nancy have in common?
What's
not their bank accounts, but they both have big bank accounts. But Trump made his money the old-fashioned way.
He earned it.
He earned it. Nancy made her money the old-fashioned way.
She stole it. Very good. It's very true. Anyway, getting back to, if I look at the clock on the wall, it's always moving. It's amazing. They talked also in this press conference about Greenland. Donald Trump Jr. was in Greenland yesterday with a delegation, just making their presence known. I didn't really realize this, but Greenland is only about 50,000 people. What's interesting, people don't realize that Iceland is really green and Greenland is really ice. It doesn't make any sense. Whoever was naming that was, I think, using a lot of grog. He was drinking a lot of grog.
How old is the name? How old is the name?
I think it goes back to the 1700s, isn't it? Iceland and Greenland?
Well, there was a lot of climate change that was going on. We went from a very cold period in the 14 and 1500s when there were no hurricanes because there was like a 100-year period where there was nothing going on. And then all of a sudden, which opened up, if you want to talk about seafaring things, it actually opened up, more travel that way, and also brought in the slave trade and the stuff going on down in the Caribbean.
So what you're saying is that the climate has fluctuated over the course of centuries. Yeah.
Yeah. This has been done with the study of trees and lumber from sunken ships.
If you would for a second explain to people how would they use trees to. This is interesting, folks. Listen to this.
Okay, it's the rings of the tree. Now, everybody knows. I think everybody knows this. When you look at cut a tree down, it's got rings. Each ring represents a year of growth.
Right.
But now each ring does not, you would think they would look the same, right?
Right.
But they don't. Some are medium-sized, some are big and fat, and some are real skinny.
Yeah.
They're just a little line. But it's still a year. And what that little line means, that can tell you something. That can tell you that there was some trauma to this tree.
Yeah. Broken
branches or something. Why was it? And then when you go back and look at, where these were, like if they were by shorelines in the ocean, all right, if in recorded time, there are things that will say, there was a hurricane then. Okay, coincides with a hurricane. But then you go, we only go back so many years. Well, then you go ahead and pull up the French. They were navigating the oceans at that time. They had very good records of the ship trades that go back hundreds and hundreds of years. So you have a recording of all the weather patterns that were going on then. You have sunken ships that you can get the wood and get an age print. And all of a sudden you get this footprint of the weather.
Yeah.
And how things were warming and cold and how things adjusted, and maybe the melting of the glaciers in America, whatnot. But either way, you get this. Turns out, during the 1500s, we were in a cooling trend of the sun, just a natural thing it does. And then it warms up again. We're in a warming trend now. And you think it's hot now in the summer, and you see all these weather phenomena. It's going to get worse.
See, so many young people don't realize this. They're not taught this in schools. They think that we're going through a unique period of time and that we better get our act together.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, kids aren't taught this in school, but again, we're still learning about the planet Earth. And I'm not a scholarly kind of guy. Yeah. But if I've taken the time to figure this out, you would think some of these propagandists on TV, they're global warming. Oh, no. We got to do away with gas and all of this stuff and the Green New Deal. It's all a load of crap, and I think they actually know it. They're selling it, and it's BS. And, Mr. Tree Hugger, Al Gore, he should know it if he's a tree hugger, if he really knows it. It's right there.
He's made a lot of money with that scam, believe me. Here's the thing about Greenland, getting back to Trump. People don't realize that there are a lot of natural resources in Greenland, rare earth minerals, things like that we rely right now on places like China for. And if we get Greenland It helps us out big time. Also, there's also the security aspect of Greenland. It would be right now we have an Air Force base. I think it's called Joint Base Thule, Thule Air Force Base in Greenland, and we're a big presence there now. We're doing a lot to protect Greenland now. Greenland is controlled for the most part by Denmark, but Denmark really doesn't do anything. As a matter of fact, I think Greenland now has a vote coming up next year where the people who live there can decide if they want to stay with Denmark or look in some other direction. And the word on the ground is not the government of Greenland. The government of Greenland, the people who run Greenland are leftists. Yeah, but the people who live there, they want to go with the U.S. because we are free. We're already there. We have a presence there already. A lot of people work for us up there, and we have vowed to protect them, and it would be beneficial to the United States and to Greenland. So if the vote is an honest vote, there's a good chance that people will select us anyway. And Trump doesn't want China getting into Greenland. And also Russia has shown an interest in Greenland. So, and Denmark just doesn't have the wherewithal to take care of Greenland.
Geographically, it suits us. It would be a strategic advantage, though, for China or Russia to have it. You talk about rare earth minerals. The United States has them. We've discovered more. I believe we got some down in the Southwest. I think some during this disaster in North Carolina were discovered there, and we have some maybe up in, way up north in the United States. The big deposits are in China, and I think Australia has them. In Australia, they're going on. China wants to deal with them. We want to deal with them. What's so important about rare earth minerals? Well, it's used in computers, but what really is important about them, we have our stealth technology and the new technology that we need for our jets and strategic weapons comes from rare earth minerals. And China's ramping up, and they are taking their minerals. They're cutting us off because they don't want to deal with us because they know the importance of those minerals. Hell, it could be in your backyard. It's very microscopic, but, you find it there. When they break it down and they use it, it's very important and very valuable and very, very strategic to our security and our future.
I think, but also there's talk of a new trade route that would go to the north of Greenland through the upper Northwest Passage between the North Pole and Canada, and Greenland would be like the gatekeeper to that. So it would be important to have ownership or some kind of a relationship with Greenland.
What did we just talk about? Warming, right? It's coming. It's going to get hotter. You think it's hot now, it's going to get hotter. And that means more melting of the ice. The sea will rise. The shorelines will get, they will recede a little bit. It's going to happen. There's nothing that we can do. You can't sit there and, quit driving your car to stop it. There could be no cars on the planet. It would still happen. Everything that's going on would happen. And it's just the nature of things. And strategically, it would give us that trade route. Hell, there may come a time in our lifetime or the next generation, the polar caps will shift. They've done it before. They've flipped. They're going to do it again. We're close to the time.
Hey, who knows? The FBI also was talking about this Matthew Leibelsberger, who was the Green Beret, who they're trying to sell the story. He committed suicide in the Cybertruck in front of Trump International in Vegas. And I don't know. The guy, you talk to, his family says, this is not our Matthew. Our Matthew doesn't talk this way, doesn't write this way, doesn't think this way. This is not Matthew. But apparently in this manifesto that he put together, actually it was a manifesto in the form of an email, Leibelsberger alleged that China has deployed advanced graphitic drones capable of launching attacks along the U.S. East Coast. he was trying to tell us that those drones that we're seeing in New Jersey, they're not from us. Now, I only say that because I was thinking back to a New Jersey state representative who was interviewed. I want to say his name was Berger. And he said early on during the drone investigations, when they started seeing them, he said, no, I have it on reliable sources that those drones are not ours. They're coming from China, not coming from China, but they're being run by China from offshore. And this guy, Libelsberger, who they're now saying, was disgruntled PTSD Green Beret Master Sergeant, by the way. He was not, this wasn't a rank and file. He was a guy who had a good rank and was well respected. And everybody who seemed to have known the guy, they can't believe it was him. It doesn't seem to fit, that he would do something like this. But then again, we may never know.
You got to wonder, do we know what's really going on, trying to hide it? Are we involved with it or what? But I can tell you, when you talk about China and what they're doing, and everyone's watching Taiwan, well, you really ought to watch it right now with what China did. They cut the telecom cables.
I saw that.
To Taiwan.
Yeah.
Now, these cables are owned by several companies, including AT&T and Verizon. So is that not an international act of aggression?
Of course it is. It's just like when was a Nord Stream 2 pipeline blew up.
Well, we did that.
Well, we are not admitting to it, Bill, but most people who are in the know would agree with you. Yes. If we didn't do it personally, we supervised it. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, but they're doing that. They're cutting off the communications, and that shuts down the internet and whatnot.
Here's the reason why I think that Libelsberger may be onto something. Is that we allowed China to fly a spy balloon right across our country. And people don't talk about this, but that balloon, whether you know it or not, it flew over key military bases in our country. It didn't just randomly fly across the country. And the interesting thing was, if that balloon were following the jet stream, which you would think that it would have gotten caught in, it would have brought it further north through maybe over Pennsylvania and out over Long Island Sound. But that balloon went down over the Carolinas, which seems to indicate it had some sort of self-propulsion, and it flew over military bases.
Well, they say it was unarmed and all this stuff. It's just a weather balloon. But, let's say that they're trying to figure out military frequencies. Frequencies change a lot, and we advance communications.
Right.
All it needs to do, it's not really so much for listening, but gathering of information. If it has a wide spectrum thing, they're going, oh, wait, there's a frequency we've never seen before.
Yes.
And now they know where we're operating, and they probably have a collection of that going, okay, so we need to hone in on these frequencies.
And the other question I have is, all right, those drones have been flying for the last month and a half. Do we have any idea where they're from yet? Has anybody come out and said, okay, it's been a month, those drones are from Cleveland or whatever? I mean, they have said nothing. They've allowed it to become an afterthought in the news cycle. And now nobody even thinks about the drones. If you're living in New Jersey, you look up and say, oh, look at this, the moon, there's Mars, and there's a drone. Oh, it's no big deal anymore because nobody's making an issue out of it. The fact of the matter is they could be charting our military bases in that area. I'm sure we have secret stuff in the New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware area. I'm sure we have it. Not just the bases we know about. The government has other things out there. It's just the nature of the beast. And maybe the Chinese are charting those things too. You talked about, and I think it's a very good point, you talked about signals, radio signals and stuff like that. Maybe New Jersey is an intersection of important military radio signals from different bases, and now because they had drones flying all over the place. They were able to decipher what those signals are. Something is up, and they're just not telling the people about it. And that should piss you off. Pardon my French. But they just figure out, if we don't tell them, they'll just forget about it. And this guy we have in Washington, by the way, please, dear God, let Trump make it, because his openness and honesty, even as a future president, a president-elect, it's so darn refreshing compared to this demented guy we have running the operation now, the guy who gets lost in his own words, the guy who drifts around the White House, who, he doesn't finish a sentence without realizing that he's talking. The guy is just amazingly inept, but yet he thinks that he's the smartest guy in the room. He was the guy who said, I know more leaders in the world than any of you GD reporters. He said that just the day before yesterday. But anyway, Bill, the press conference that Trump did was refreshing. It was open. It was honest. It was controversial. And it was typical Trump. And he's talking about, by the way, I think the Panama thing, when he first said it, everybody kind of giggled, Panama. But he was serious. And it's true. What he was saying was so true. The Panama Canal is something that we put our heart, soul, and money into. We lost 35,000 Americans building that to malaria and things like that and construction accidents. And it should be it should be ours. Heck, the country of Panama wouldn't exist without us. Seriously, it was that canal. By being there, it brought people and revenue and economy to that little area, and they have a country. But they shouldn't be fighting the U.S. the U.S. wants to go back in there and protect you. The U.S. wants to go back in there and to make that a functioning canal again. Right now, the Chinese are at either end of that canal running the who comes and goes operation. They are really running the canal. The Chinese. What the hell did the Chinese do to that canal? They didn't do anything. It was the American sweat and blood that went into that. You know what?
They
Trump
don't care. They will sit there. China has really, since they were kind of taken off the hook many years ago, they have really resurfaced back to exactly what they were and exactly what they were doing before.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, I don't believe that you should lock someone down. But then again, maybe when history repeats itself, you have to take a second look. China's a problem.
They talk about, Littlesberger seems to indicate that China may be planning on doing something soon to us, maybe some kind of an invasion.
I think that's already underway.
Now, people may say, what is this guy who committed suicide in a Cybertruck? First of all, you have to just you have to believe that at face value, all right? Okay, the guy was disgruntled and committed suicide in front of Trump International, but he was a Trump supporter, and he liked Elon Musk. Okay, but that's neither here nor there. The guy was a master sergeant. They say in the articles that I've read, he was a expert on drones. He had a good knowledge of how drones work and where they come from. And he was trying to send out a warning, apparently. We don't know what was going on. Maybe he had told a superior somewhere that he was going to leak something to the public, and it was going to be devastating. And it was going to be eye-opening for the American public. And maybe people didn't like that and figured, well, he can't, if he's alive, he's a threat. People may say, well, how could he?
Nobody knows.
The car wasn't self-driving, and he had to drive himself there. We don't know what kind of threats they had on that guy. There could have been other reasons why a guy drove the car there. Maybe people that he loved were threatened. We don't know. On the surface, it doesn't smell right, Neither does New Orleans. For them, in the course of 3 days, for them to flip-flop 3 times, it wasn't terror, it was terror, and it was a group of people involved. Then it was a lone gunman, a lone actor. This is just nonsense. And what they just hope is, like everything else in this country we live in right now, we've had so much nonsense thrown at us so quickly that we've become kind of numb to it. You know,
Right.
Look at what happened in Butler, PA. I mean, that should have been a story that should have been the topic of conversation for a couple of months. It should have been lead story, follow up in the assassination attempt, and that just sort of dissipated. As soon as he had a bandage on his ear, they were onto something else. We still don't know about whether there was a second shooter or whether there was someone helping him logistically to get the equipment and guns and stuff up there. Nothing. We know nothing about the 3 bank accounts offshore for a 20-year-old kid. Where the hell did that come from? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And people say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. No, I think anybody with a good brain who sits down for a second and just thinks about it, stops, gets off the merry-go-round for a second, and just think for a second. What do we know about that assassination attempt? We know nothing about that assassination attempt. Nothing. We know that he was shot by some kid from a roof. Oh, okay. We don't know where the kid... they say, for example, give me another thing. The house that the kid grew up in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, didn't have any utensils in it. Now, wait a second.
It was a setup.
Yeah, I mean, wait a second. Who lives in a house that doesn't have eating utensils?
If you're going to even camp out in there, you're going to have something. There would be
Plastic
some sign
spoons
of,
or something,
Yeah, plastic spoons, or at least empty bags that you got from Uber Eats or something. Something like that.
What do you know about his parents?
Nothing.
Nothing.
What do you know about a school teacher who has a interesting background? Nothing.
What do you know about his relationship with BlackRock?
Well, again, like that school teacher, yeah, you've seen it, but it's been scrubbed.
All right. Now, that was just July.
Yeah.
People say, well, that was ancient news. That was only 6 months ago, 5 months ago.
But if you got a crystal ball, let's go back to what we started the show with, and that is the leaked Veterans Affairs Insider Reveals HHS memo detailing presidential inauguration medical personnel support deployment request, where they want all this stuff, which has never been asked for and needed before, as if somebody is going to get mowed down by a gun or an explosion or something.
Yeah, is there going to be an explosion at the Capitol?
Well, it sounds to me, okay, look, if you look, why are they doing that? If it's a distraction, that is a sick distraction. If it is because they are knowing of something, they know something, and there's something evil and imminent that's going to happen, which should scare the hell out of you, again, that's just a terrible thing to say about our country. And nobody, whether you like Trump or not, deserves what is being thrown at him like this. Nobody.
The left hates Trump. And the left, we've said this a number of different times, Bill. What have the people on the left promised?
Well, they've said that he would never, ever step foot in the White House.
Yeah.
Again.
Do you think they've changed that promise?
No, because you know what? I look at my liberal friends, and I think I mentioned it yesterday. One of them sat there and just boldly said, I'll never in my life understand why January 6th was not a deal breaker for everybody. And then I thought,
wow,
there's no way I can convince this person otherwise, because even though the left media is collapsing, they believe they still have that bullhorn, and they believe that, and they have been programmed, slowly programmed over time, and they need to be deprogrammed to neutral, not to the right.
These are the people who watch CNN, watch MSNBC.
And they take it as word as gospel.
Yes.
And they're not going to change. And even if they go those sources go bankrupt, they'll go, see, it's the damn right. That's what we've been on. And they're going to be that way. So there is a divide. They don't like us and they hate us, and that's just the way it is. They have been programmed. This is like a scene out of a movie. And
Yep.
It can't go anywhere good.
Yeah, well, we've been lied to and told just ridiculous stories about major news like Bill said, January 6, 2021, the only person who died was Ashley Babbitt. Ashley Babbitt, the only person who died.
Maybe she had no business trying to climb through that window, but she was not doing anything to hurt anyone. There were a lot of people there, mostly just meandering around. You see cops walking.
Well, she wasn't trying to climb through. As a matter of fact, if you look at the videotape, Ashley Babbitt was trying to pull someone away from the door when she got hit in the neck.
Well, yeah, you see that cop sitting back there with a gun, and then all the other cops are not, they're holstered.
Yeah.
So this guy probably had instructions, because if he acted, by himself, then the narrative should have been different. But the narrative was there from the get-go. She was chosen. They said, okay, she's a decorated hero. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's get her. And they did. They shot her in the neck. She died. And she's the one that died. Now, they talk about an officer that died of a heart attack after the event. He was in ill health anyway.
That was the next day.
He could have been sitting at home eating a slice of pie, drinking a soda pop, and died.
They have
the next
videotape
day.
of him at the Capitol the day of January 6th, and he looked relaxed, calm, and not in bad health. It was just, he didn't die as a result of January 6th.
No.
The only other person they say who died as a result of January 6th was a lady who was actually trampled in the tunnel. She was also another Trump supporter. So as far as them telling you stories about, they're trying to equate January 6th to 9/11, and it's the biggest lie, but they're throwing it out there at every opportunity, folks.
And the display of, the flames and stuff like that. Who was the agent? They have the videotape of him carrying explosives through the gates.
They didn't tell it. The people who shot the rubber bullets and the smoke canisters into the crowd were unprovoked. They didn't have to do that. The Capitol Police were instructed to do something. They shouldn't have done it. They incited it. They caused people to panic. People who were being basically, they might have been noisy and stuff like that, but they weren't causing anybody any problems. And when they fired these canisters into the crowd, they started to run and panic because they couldn't breathe. It was caused by the Capitol Police.
The booms, bangs, pops, puffs of smoke, and flashes all came from the police. And you're right. You tear gas people. If somebody, look, I got a son in law enforcement. One of the things they have to do in their training is they've got to sit there and go through, they got to be tased. They got to be maced because they got to know how I understand the reaction. And they got to be tear gassed.
I have been in training. I've had tear gas, and there's a difference, riot gas, which is even
big difference.
Oh, I've had riot gas when I was in the military, and they put you they clump you all together in a square, and the instructors have masks on, and they have these canisters on sticks, and they're at the corners of the square, and then they just open them up, and a cloud of riot gas covers the guys up. And one of the guys, literally, in my group, he ran into a tree, full speed, knocked him down unconscious. Another guy ran to a tree and figured, I'll get away from the cloud by climbing the tree. As he climbed the tree, the cloud moved up, because it's gas. And as it dissipated on the ground, it followed him up the tree. The poor guy was in bad shape. He was okay, but he was in bad shape when they brought him down off that tree. But the point I'm trying to make is it made a group of organized, decent guys just standing there in a crowd not doing anything. It made them run like, wild deer.
I have no idea. I've never been through that kind of training. I don't know what the gas does, if it burns, stinks, whatever it does.
It does both of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, my reaction would be, from what I understand, your first instinct is run, but I probably wouldn't. I'd probably go on the ground and pull a coat over my head and try to, protect my...
And you get trampled.
By other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, then, yeah. So it's a no-win scenario, and that's what I guess they're trying to teach you. I've never gone through it. I could make a bad joke out of it and say, the only gas I've ever got is from Frito Burrito night. But that's a whole different thing.
He had to go there, friends. It was a softball. He had to go there.
I had to take the hit.
Exactly. The thing
it's out of the park. It's over the fence.
Yeah. The thing is, the people who caused the problem were the people who shot the gas into the crowd and caused them to run. And the other people who were breaking window, or you see the people breaking, they were, I believe, those were plants. Those are people
who.
Let me ask you
a question.
Go ahead.
I mean, riot gas. I'm sure it's considered an ordinance, so they know who shot what canister, right?
Right.
All right. You've been through the training, so you know what it does. Mm-hmm. All right. Now the people, for them to shoot that ordinance at these people, and it was unprovoked. It's not a violation of their rights. I mean, there was an insurrection, and it was on these people's rights because they wanted to whip up a frenzy, and if that would do it, well, there was an insurrection there. There was a planned attack. It was by the government and these agencies, and they should be held accountable. The truth should come out, and I'm sorry, but the government needs to compensate.
They had
them.
the January 6th, congressional committee that was a
sham.
A sham. That's exactly what it was. It was a total sham. It was people who were picked specifically to attack the left. And you may say, well, they had Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger.
You attacked the right.
I'm sorry, attack the right. Excuse me. It's been a long show. But they had Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, who were essentially rhinos, okay? These are people who hated Trump, and they wanted to bring him down, and they would do anything the left asked them to do. Molly Hemingway was talking about Liz Cheney yesterday, I believe, and Liz Cheney getting the Medal of Freedom. Listen to this.
Give us your reaction to President Biden issuing these medals.
Well, this award to Liz Cheney really is inappropriate. This is a woman who was hand-selected by Nancy Pelosi to run a committee that was extremely one-sided. Liz Cheney, in the course of running this committee to supposedly investigate the January 6th incident at the Capitol, she obstructed justice. She witness tampered. We have lots of reason to believe she witness tampered with Cassidy Hutchinson getting involved in that woman's actual legal representation. She hid evidence that exonerated Donald Trump. I mean, one of the big things that Liz Cheney had said was that Donald Trump had not, in fact, sought a presence at the Capitol to protect people who were protesting. And she had evidence when she conducted her interviews that the deputy chief of staff said he personally heard Donald Trump say that he thought 10,000 National Guard troops would be good, that he heard the chief of staff talk to the D.C. mayor encouraging her to request those troops, but she hid that evidence, completely failed to release that evidence until, and it only came out after Republicans took control of the House. This is not someone that you should be giving an award to, someone who's witness tampering, obstructing justice, and the like.
So do you think she broke the law? Because remember, in the last few weeks, there was some conversation about Biden issuing her a pardon. Is a pardon warranted?
Well, I think the pardon is being sought by people who know what she did because she is in legal jeopardy. At the very least, she should be investigated for this. But I also think it's just so interesting how much Democrats, I mean, the reason why she's getting the award is because she helped Democrats campaign. They thought that she was helpful. But you might remember that the Kamala Harris campaign had Liz Cheney out on the road. That was their closing message. If you vote for Kamala Harris, you're going to have people like Liz Cheney handling our foreign policy. And polling showed that that was actually a net negative with people on that campaign. So Liz Cheney, as awful as her behavior has been in these last few years, she did give Republicans this gift of taking her very unpopular, politically toxic neocon interventionism and moving it from the Republican Party now firmly into the Democrat Party. And so for that, Republicans can be thankful.
That's Molly Hemingway, political reporter and pundit from D.C., and she's a smart young lady and a pretty astute observation on what Liz Cheney did for the elections recently. But I think she will be investigated in the upcoming months. I think it would only be justice, folks. If she witness tampered, if you witness tampered, not just if you did it. Imagine this. If you witness tampered, don't you think you'd be in trouble? Of course you would be.
Well, I think so. But, she's got Daddy, and Daddy's in pretty deep, and he's pretty evil. So I would venture to say, no matter what the investigation is, somehow she's going to sail away and skirt the whole issue.
Yeah, don't go hunting with Daddy. Go hunting.
No, because damn guns seem to go off when he puts them over his shoulder and he shoots you.
He shot one of his hunting partners with a shotgun, I think.
Yeah, got him. Didn't kill him.
No, but it ruined his day, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it really did. And, whatever they were arguing about, I bet you they didn't argue about it anymore.
I'll bet you're right. Hey, CNN was talking about the elections. They're still talking, by the way, on CNN about the elections. I mean, it's like they can't believe it. But Harry Eaton, I guess, is the pollster on CNN. And he was talking about the best. What were they talking about? They were talking about the Trump poll. What did Trump, his involvement with January 6th, did that make you think less of him and not vote for him in 2024? He came out with some interesting points. Listen.
If you go back, 4 years ago, right, Trump's role on January 6, 2021 should make him ineligible to be president. The clear majority of voters said yes, 56%, and that was including removal from office. But of course, Donald Trump won the presidency, and part of the reason why was because views on Trump completely shifted, including Trump's role on January 6, 2021 should make him ineligible for the presidency. By 2023, 2024, it was just 47%. So we saw this drop of about 9 points, and that, of course, is all the difference in the world, going from a majority to short of a majority. And, of course, Donald Trump won the vast majority of the other 53% who did not believe that his role on January 6th would make him ineligible for the presidency.
Still a big number, but not enough.
Correct. Right. This 9-point shift was tremendous.
All right. Let's talk about the why behind it, Harry.
Yeah, why? All right. So part of the reason why is, was Trump greatly responsible for the attack on the Capitol? You go back to January 2021, it was 48%. By the time of December of 2023, look at that. Again, a clear shift down to 37%. This is an 11-point drop, very much mirroring that drop that we saw that the folks said that, of course, would make him ineligible for the presidency. So that is part of the reason why, right? Fewer folks thought he was responsible, greatly responsible for what happened on January 6th. But it's not just that. It's that people simply put didn't care as much about the attack on the Capitol. Look at this. January 6th is your biggest memory of Trump's first term in office. By the time of 2024, look at this. It was just 5% of Americans. And among Republicans, it was just 2%. So the bottom line is fewer Americans faulted Donald Trump or thought he was greatly responsible for the January 6th attack. And more than that, as it went into the rearview mirror, far fewer folks thought that it was their number one memory.
Yeah, and this is an extraordinary number, given that President Biden, when he was still in the election, was really putting this as his main issue. Never really was registering. All right, how about views of the results of the 2020 election this 4 years later?
Yeah, this, I think, says everything, right? Because part of the reason those folks attacked the Capitol was because they thought incorrectly that the 2020 election results, in fact, did not reflect the view of the voters. Votes were cast and counted accurately. GOP voters after a given election, just 31% Just 31% thought that about the 2020 election. Look at this. It turns out when you win an election, far more Republicans thought that the votes were cast and counted accurately, 94%. That is a 63-point jump, John. And that, of course, is why I think today will be mostly just business as normal.
Counting the votes, which is Congress's actual constitutional role. Harriet, and thank you.
What that says to me, though, is that it wasn't just a matter of people forgetting about something. I think over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, a lot of people started to pay attention and to look into the situation. They started to investigate, started to read. They educated themselves and realized what was really going on wasn't what they were being told initially. And that's why I think the change.
Yeah, we didn't have to count the votes because we were there to make sure that the votes got counted properly. There was a little bit of shenanigans going on, but that got caught and, it was rectified. And I'm sure there still was some that slipped through, but it was so minuscule in the grand scheme of things. 2020, we had to take their word for it, but, your eyes, you've got to go by the facts. If this guy is going out and showing up and nobody showed up to see him, you can say he's got a crowd and he's got, the people, I look at this one artist, just to give a guy by the name of Paul Davis, did some great songs, got a lot of radio play.
Was it Cool Life?
Cool Life, 65, Love Affair, stuff
great
like that.
Song,
but either way, but he couldn't sell a ticket at a concert. So basically, that was the downfall of his career, because having records played is one thing, because they were big, they were popular songs. But people weren't buying the records. They didn't want to go see the guy. So was he a big, I liked him, personally. But, in the scheme of things, he wasn't all that and a bag of chips. And Biden, you might have liked him personally, but he couldn't draw a crowd.
Well,
I guarantee he didn't get a vote. That was a lie.
Well, I look at movies, right? When the movie It's a Wonderful Life came out, it was a flop. People didn't go see it, didn't want to see it. It wasn't anything that interested them. And everybody at the time was saying, Frank Capra, his days are behind him. He can't make a good movie. All of a sudden, they started running it again on television about 10, 15 years later, and it caught on, and people started to pay attention, and they realized, wait a second, this is a great movie. And all of a sudden, it became a classic. It became something everyone looked forward to at Christmas time. It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart, right? And I think the people with this situation, initially they were told, oh, it's an insurrection that Trump initiated. He was the instigator behind the whole thing. No, he wasn't. He told people to go peacefully and patriotically. What they don't tell you, nobody tells you, is that Trump was still speaking 25 minutes away from the Capitol. He was still speaking when there was already a group of people up at the Capitol breaking glass. Now, how could he have initiated that? He was
he couldn't have. And the people that were breaking the glass, you're led to believe they tore open the doors, a 20-ton or 60-ton door that's solid metal that, you have to pull open. I'm sorry, that didn't happen. It opens electronically. That means somebody inside opened that door. And then the video cameras, if depending on what video you choose to look at, the overwhelming majority of the video is people just meandering. They're just meandering around. I can't say anymore. I'm getting dementia.
It's a long show.
But anyway, they're just casually walking around. Cops behind them, and they're looking because it's like they were on tour. Hey, we're here, okay. But it wasn't until Ashley Babbitt got shot in the face. They fired tear gas at him. They were cattle being led in for a slaughter.
Yes.
That's what was going on. And if you go back and look at all the video, that's what it really was. But let's see, who was in charge of the video? Who are they related to? Pelosi?
Yeah, right. It's Pelosi's daughter. And the other thing is this, Merrick Garland, will he pay a price in the future? He should. He's been a tool of this administration. And all of the people, I don't feel sorry for the upper echelon of the FBI that willfully and willingly followed along and gleefully attacked President Trump with lawfare. So if he comes into office and things start to change and people are saying, oh, we're being picked on, nah. It's called justice. Hey, Bill, before we go, we should point out that Right Side Coffee, it's in the store. It's in our shop online, rightsideshop.com, rightsideshop.com. It's a delicious coffee. I know you're saying, you would say that. It's your coffee. No, listen, if it was lousy coffee, we wouldn't sell it. It's really tasty coffee. Everybody loves a good, rich cup of coffee. We have it for you in Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. And you can get it on our website. It's easy. And you were talking about price. The price point, you can pay for a lot of coffees that are actually more expensive than ours. So, listen, give it a shot. You help us out by doing so because some of the profits, not all of it, but some of the profits go to us, and we can use that money to help promote the program. And we can also maybe give Juan, Jose, and the Border Crossers a salary, although I shouldn't say that because they'll get their hopes up.
They're looking right now at you, Jim. You got to shut up about that.
That's true. Guys, sing the jingle, please.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
They do that so well, and I wouldn't know what to do without them, Bill. It's not the same commercial without Juan, Jose, and the Border Crossers.
No, you got to have them there. But anyway, it's rightsideshop.com. Check it out. Get our swag. Get our swag.
I love that.
Get our coffee and, let your friends know about us, too.
Absolutely.
Even though we got a huge following, we want it to be huger.
Yes, huger. I like that. You sound like a very educated person. Yes.
I is. Yes. Yeah. So we want to be humongatic.
Yes. We want to be so big that we can't see where we came from. What?
Well, I can't see where I'm going.
That's true. Hey, but, in the meantime, we got to wrap this show up. Hey, listen, have yourself a wonderful day. Pray for a peaceful transition. And I just keep waiting for another shoe to drop because I think the people on the other side are not playing fair. That's just my humble opinion. Well, hopefully I'm wrong. It wouldn't be the first time, Anyway, Bill, if you would, you can wrap this thing up.
I'm going to do it right now, right here, this way. Hasta la vista, baby! We're out of here.
This is CRN America.